Welcome to another episode of the Writer's Game podcast, where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. I have somebody on here today that I am really excited to get a chance to talk to. We've known each other for years, but her vision and her commitment to ensuring that students, the educational system, and just children's lives are impacted and empowered is truly something special. Her ability to use her gifts, her ability to be creative and innovative within the classroom is something that I feel like a lot of educators, a lot of people in general, and even parents can learn from. And her mind for entrepreneurship, her mind for this realm of being an author, and just her overall heart for being able to make a difference in people's lives is truly phenomenal. So Paige, how you doing?
I'm great, Kyle. How are you?
Look, I am amazing. It's always really cool introducing people that you know because they don't really know what you're gonna say. Um, but it's one of those moments that really just show that other person what I really feel about that person as well. So before we get started, I always like to ask this question at the beginning. Could you introduce yourself without saying any professional or personal titles that you would use?
Okay, so really, in a nutshell, like if anyone were to meet me, they would say she cannot stop smiling. She's always happy. She's looking on the bright side of things, and I can improvise like that. So,
Okay.
in a
Okay.
nutshell.
All right, we're gonna shake things up at the beginning of the conversation. We're not even gonna wait to get there. So since you said the word improvise and you can improvise like that, so I want you to tell us a story.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give you 3 words, and I want you to create a story in real time just using those 3 words. So it has to just have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So
All right.
all right, the 3 words are passport, cell phone, and computer. And
Okay.
and you're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So once upon a time, there was a man named Michael. He was planning to go to Paris and he left his passport at his house. Too bad he's already here. And what he needs to do is he needs to try to navigate, try to find somebody who can call somebody so that way he can go back to his house or that way they can at least bring his passport there. But then as long as like he's running around trying to find anybody and everyone's like, no, no, busy. Of course, everybody's trying to get to the airport, right? So then after that, he finally finds somebody. She's sitting on the ground on her computer. And what she's doing is she's just FaceTiming her grandmother and she's just having a good time. And Michael, he's like, I'm so sorry, like, excuse me, but can I please borrow your cell phone so that I can call somebody at my house and that way I can get my passport because I really need to get on this flight to Paris like in 2 hours. So she says, oh yeah, it's fine. She tells her grandmother, I'll talk to you in a little bit, hangs up, gives Michael her cell phone, and then after that, he's able to call his roommate, and his roommate's name is Tony. So Tony's like, "Bro, how did you forget your passport out of all the things? Like you're going to Paris." He was like, "Yeah, I know." So then, luckily, Tony was able to get to the airport. And Michael had literally like 30 minutes to spare. So he had to literally rush all the way out the gate. And then he had to come right back. And then he was able to go to Paris. The end.
Look, that is bravo. Bravo. Anybody listening right now, you can tell that she works in the educational system with elementary school kids because that was off the dome. I really appreciate it. So, as we expand on that story, kind of talk to me about your method. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did that come to you? What was the story behind the story on how you created that picture?
So really, I want to go to Paris. So, and that sounds like something that I would do. Like I would pack everything, and then I would, knowing me, I would leave something. So everybody always leaves something. So when you said passport, I'm like, yeah, you think that that's something so small that you would remember it, and then you just automatically forget it. And then just trying to go and ask people for help and things like that. 9 times out of 10, nobody's really gonna help because everybody's busy doing their own things. Like everybody has a place to go.
Yeah.
So trying to get someone's attention, normally they would have to just be sitting still. Like no one's going to be rushing and then just say like, oh yeah, like I can help you. Also, I'm trying to get to the airport myself. Be like, no, like, sorry, you gotta figure it out yourself.
Mm,
So really, that could be a realistic situation. So a lot of the things that I do, and even with my students, I like to connect it to realistic things. So that way it's not this whole fictitious, made up thing that I'm just trying to get you to sit down and listen to me. No, like I'm going to make you think about, hey, this is something that could actually happen to you. So I need you to understand, what do you do in these types of situations? If you lose your passport, what do you do? Oh, I need to find somebody with a cell phone. I need to
exactly.
get somebody who can call for help. I need to figure out somebody who can help me in this situation immediately. And then I have to be able to find an alternative if I can't find nobody.
That's good. I think a lot of people listening right now are only listening to the story and how you communicate the story, but not really listening to the deeper message behind it. There's a book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And the premise of the book is oftentimes we're trying to figure out how to do things. And we're trying to figure out, how do I do this, or how do I figure out this, when we don't necessarily know how, rather than asking the question of who can help me do this. And oftentimes in life, when we have a who, that person can expedite the timeline and accelerate all of the different things that we would naturally have to hurdle over if we just have the strongest who in our life. So when you think about your life in general, Paige, who is a person that has really been able to transform, whether it be your perspective, your knowledge, or even just the resources that you've been able to have to get you to the point where you are?
So, really, my mother.
We'll get there.
Yeah, yeah. Really, my mother. So, she is such a pusher, and like just hearing stories of just like a mother-daughter relationship and how that normally goes and things like that, it's just okay, so now I gotta try to work with her and do all these things, but she is the person that is normally like always doing all these things. And she is just, oh, okay, like now I gotta sit here and listen to her.
Yeah.
So even though I know that she knows what she's talking about, there are times where it's like, I do not want to hear you. I do not want to listen. And then there are times where she wants to be my friend, and then she flips the script and then goes all business on me. And then I'm like, you was just telling me how amazing I was doing, and now you're telling me, oh, I need to fix A to Z, but I
Yeah.
still love you.
There has to
No,
be a balance. There has to be that balance.
that's what I'm saying.
I think about what you said earlier in regards to leave. You created that story because you often leave things behind. In life, in order for us to get to our next destination, there's certain things that we have to leave behind. What are some things that you've had to leave behind, or you're struggling with leaving behind, that are crippling you from getting to your next destination?
So, things I'm struggling with leaving behind. I tend to stay really loyal to things, even if like it may be stagnant or it probably isn't fully benefiting me. Like it's benefiting me in some way, but it's not reaching me to my full potential.
Yeah.
So normally like I fully believe in potential. Like if I see like just like a little bit of hope in something, then I'm like, oh, okay, like we can work this out, like things can be fixed and like improved and stuff, because there's always room for improvement. I'm not perfect either. So I said, okay, well, like that's understandable. But I feel like with that, I feel like that's something that I need to kind of like know when to cut it off.
Yeah.
So
I read something. This was a few months ago, because I'm very similar. I love potential.
mhm.
And investing in potential more than the final product. But I read something a few months ago, and it talked about that people that are so potential based lack confidence and security in what they bring to the table. And because they go after potential, they think their potential, and they don't believe in who they actually are. And I sat with it for a few, and obviously you can't believe everything that you read, and there's so many different perspectives. But it's an interesting perspective that I'd love to bring up in this conversation now. What do you believe that people see that you have that you feel that you're lacking?
Hmm. People, like a lot of people, they say, oh my gosh, like you could just really take over the world. And I'm looking like, you think so? Like, really? Like, nah. I mean, I know I make mistakes. And
Mm,
so, of course, like if I'm not going to know something or if it's probably like unknown territory, I'm going to do the research to try to figure out, okay, let me try to get as close to perfection. And that's also something else I need to stop doing too.
yeah.
So it's sometimes I am like low key contradicting myself. It's so funny because I'm saying like, oh, I know I make mistakes, but then I'm going around saying, okay, well, I need to do this so that I can be perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to find, I guess, like that balance
Yeah.
and things of that nature. So,
But talk to us, Paige. There's somebody right now that's listening in,
mhm.
whether they're going to be watching the live or the recording, and they have this fear of being perfect, so they don't even take action. They want to be perfect, they don't take action, but they sit in this idea that they want more in life, but because of the fear of it's not going to be perfect, they're just still sitting in their own feeling. What would be your advice to that person? What are some techniques or strategies that you're either using or not using uh, that they could potentially learn from in this moment?
I would say if you can promote someone else's dream and things like that, there's no reason for you not to do that for yourself.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to love yourself and you're supposed to love others and things like that. But if you are just constantly giving yourself and giving your thoughts and your dreams to someone else, now they're just benefiting off of you and you're watching from the sidelines
mm,
when like that position is supposed to be you. And so if you're giving that information and you're giving that knowledge, then obviously it's in you because you're able to say it to someone else. So why can't you basically be that light for yourself?
mm. I think that a lot of times it's hard for people to communicate things because they don't take the necessary and intentional time reflecting on what they want. Um, a mentor of mine months ago gave me an activity. He was like, Kyle, what are the things that you want most in life? And he wanted me to do 100 things that I want most in life. So I wrote this document down, 100 things that I want. And it ended up being like 146 things. And it was like, not.
Wow.
It was everything from like a bucket list, from an aspiration list to a goals. And I broke down the type of relationship that I wanted, the people that I wanted to be able to meet, the places that I wanted to go, the things that I wanted to create. But what it did is that it gave me so much clarity, though. It gave me so much clarity in auditing what I'm currently doing, who I'm currently with, what currently involving myself around, and comparing this list to those things, and then recognizing that there's some disconnects in what I'm saying that I'm wanting and what I'm actually putting my time into. When you think about what you want in life, what do you want? And how are your actions and behaviors helping you achieve that?
Right now, I want to have flexibility in my time. So that's really what I'm finding precious now,
Yeah.
especially when being on summer vacation right now. And then I was working, of course, being an educator is a lot in general, but then I also took upon other responsibilities. And that was also unknown territory. So I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with new students and I'm trying to learn all these things in leadership roles and then trying to work on being author. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is just overwhelming. So with that, I was just saying, like, really, I'm only one person.
Yeah.
So I cannot be everywhere and doing all these things. So something not really has to go, but I have to try to figure out how to revamp how I'm spending my time.
No, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. I love that you implemented and inserted in the word author. And I know recently you've dropped a book, and I'm super, super proud of you. I know that's a journey in itself, especially in the children's book realm, because I'm so used to writing nonfiction and helping people in that space. But my son's book, that no one officially knows about, is coming out, and we've been able to acquire school districts to be able to purchase copies of the book. And it's a proud moment, but it's also a moment that is so surreal, to be able to have it published and see it in your hand and all of these different things. Walk me through not just how you feel now, but even through the process of creating this amazing piece of work, what that meant to you.
Really, I wrote this back in college and I wrote it as an assignment. And it's so funny because I didn't even really care about it. I said, oh, they're having me write this book and I just need to do this to graduate. And they said, pick something that you would feel you would like to share to your students in the future. And so I said, all right, let me take a stab at it. I'll take a crack at it. And so years later, after when I graduated and things like that, it was random. It was a random day. And then the book was at my parents' house on the mantle. And I was like, I can turn that into something real. Let me fix it. And then like a teacher in me, I'm like, oh, this needs to be edited. This needs to be edited.
Yeah,
So then I guess like I just wanted to fix it. And so with me wanting to fix it, I said, well, I'm not going to do all this fixing for nothing. Like
exactly.
I want to share this out. Like I want to be able to impact more students outside of my classroom of only like 20 something kids. So I could only help them for the year that we're together. And I'm saying, okay, well, I feel like what I have to say is more valuable than just only keeping it in a closed environment.
Exactly. That's interesting. I have a perspective that, again, I think people may have overlooked. You may have heard it, but you may have overlooked. You don't want to keep something that is just confined in a classroom. You had a vision that, even though it was years ago that you started it, you completed it. And that one vision is now going to be able to help you expand that vision and the works of that vision across the world, because you've created something and completed it. Walk me now through the feeling of having it done and the opportunity to share that with so many people in the world.
I'm excited. So I was really excited. I was like, I said, oh my gosh, like it's in my hands. Like, of course, like looking at him, like, oh, the glossy pages and everything. So I was happy with that. But then after a while, I thought about it. I was like, I said, man, like I can do so much good with like all these pieces because like I want to write more things. And just seeing how children light up in general when they learn something new or when they relate to something or just seeing just a character that looks like them, it's like forms an immediate connection. And then just to make children feel seen, because even though our kids are around, we're sometimes, and personally, like sometimes I would do it too. I'd kind of like brush them off, be like, I got to do all this paperwork and stuff. And they really have things that they want to say or that they want to share. And so just to give them that platform and that opportunity to say, like, hey, like, I experienced something like this before. Like, when did you have an experience like this? And then just bridging conversations between them and other children because they have a lot of good ideas.
That's good. You know, Paige, it's interesting the mindset that you have in regards to this book, creating first representation and an opportunity for students to see themselves in your work. Why is representation important, especially in literature, in your role as an educator?
Very important. Everything that I do as an educator, I have to try to relate to them. I have to try to engage them. If I'm just standing there saying like, "Oh, okay, this is 1 + 1 is 2. This is what," no, like no, they don't want to listen to that. They're gonna be bored out of their minds. They're gonna be rolling in the chairs and everything. Now I have to do all these extra things, try to get their attention back. No, if I'm gonna teach you something, I'm gonna say, "Oh, okay, well, all right, so I have one piece of candy. Sally, come up here." Why am I coming here? Just come up here. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. You have another piece of candy. So how many candies do we have together? Oh, I have two. Now that's going to be something that they're going to resonate with, and they're going to remember that because they're like actually involved in it.
Mm.
So usually when you involve people in your work or involve people in what you're trying to do, that one will leave a serious impression on them, and two, they can teach that to someone else. So really my goal for just writing the book is using this as a teaching tool so that way they can also teach someone else these things too.
I love that. And when we often complete things that are meaningful to us, we celebrate them. But there's not a lot of times in our lives where people are consistently celebrating us, whether it's for the big things or for the small things, whether it's through encouragement, affirmation, whatever it would be. In your life, Paige, what is an affirmation that you wish you heard more often?
You won't always be here.
Hmm. Expand on that a little bit. What does that mean to you?
So normally when I would set goals, I looked at, so let's say just take a goal of, all right, I'm going to go to college. Okay, cool. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to graduate. Now what? And then sometimes when I would plan things and I would plan every single section of my life,
Yeah.
and then when it wouldn't work out, I would always go into like this self-doubt and say like, maybe I didn't try hard enough, maybe like if I would have done this differently, always thinking hindsight and just saying like, you're not always going to be here. Like things are going to change, you're going to grow. Your goals of when you was 23 are not going to be the same as your goals when you're 27. Like you're just going to have a different perspective and a viewpoint on different stages of your life.
Hmm.
So really just reinforcing the you won't always be here, that could always lead to another path. So that
Hmm.
way you could open your eyes and say, oh, okay, well, yeah, true. I'm not always going to be here. Yeah, I'm not always going to be in college. I may be an astronaut. I may be a chef. I may do all these different things. And it's kind of just saying, like, you can literally do anything you would want to do.
Yeah. It's like really learning how I was looking at something on LinkedIn a while back, and there was this guy. He's lived like 5 different lives in the one life. He was an actual astronaut. I think he was a race car. He was a race car driver. Then he was a professional swimmer. And I think one more thing. It was the craziest thing because he's like literally like once he completed it, he like started something new, went back to school or like really studied and did that thing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Um, and when you think about it, we have enough life to live more than one life in the lives that we live. And I think we find one career path and think we have to just stay within that one industry with that one person doing that same thing for the rest of our lives. And I just can't do it. I just can't. But I think it forces you to ask questions. And a question that I have for you, and I'm interested in hearing your answer, is what is a question about your life right now in this season that you're dying to know the answer to?
Mm.
And this might take a level of vulnerability, and just honesty, but I'm interested because I think, and once you share yours, I'll definitely share mine because you can be on one. I think the person asking the questions has the most power because the questions are never
Exactly.
directed
Like,
back to me. All the questions that I don't want to ask, I ask other people, or or don't want to answer other
are
people.
you deflecting? Let me see.
So I'm interested. What is that question that you're dying to know the answer to right now in this season of your life?
Hmm. Really, it would be, will my moves that I'm making now impact others? Honestly,
What's the real
like,
question?
is what am I doing? Like,
What is the question that you're afraid to say live on camera?
is this gonna work?
Huh? And
Like,
where do you
is
think
this
that
gonna work?
question is originating from?
From that perfection side of me. So I'm trying to see, like, like, is this going to work out? Is this going to benefit me in the long run? Is this going to be something that I'm going to be proud of? Like, I literally had to write a letter saying, like, write a letter to yourself. Well, write a letter to your 75-year-old self. And I was like,
Oh,
75?
I
I
love
was like, I don't even, we were trying to figure out what to do when I'm 30. So it's
that.
like, but like, even having to sit down and trying to plan that out, I was saying, like, wow, like, I really hope what I'm doing now in my 20s will be something that's positive, that I can leave for my family and my children's children and all of that. So it's like, I don't want to be able to, or I don't want to have all of my work be just a waste of space and turn into dust.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
don't want to work here and then 75, I'm doing nothing. Or
Yeah,
like, I haven't seen, oh, like, yeah, I see my accomplishments, but it's like, okay, what did I do with it?
exactly. I think one of the things that I live by is our obedience is attached to somebody else's destiny. And if we're not obedient to the call that is on our lives, then somebody else won't be able to build the monument of their own success. And it's interesting because I can feel in my life daily now how my actions directly impact other people's lives and the lives of the people in their lives. And I think for the first time, that's because I'm aligned in purpose and in calling and doing things that I'm supposed to be doing. And I think when we're misaligned and when we're in spaces that don't necessarily support the call that's on our lives, it can be chaotic and we can accomplish a lot of success, but we still end up in that moment of dust because we're not operating in the space that we're supposed to be operating in. Um, so with that, I'm going to affirm you and say you're not always going to be here. You know?
Why,
um,
thank you.
no, for sure, for sure. And I'm interested though, what is your hope for the world? Like if you had 30 to 60 seconds to share a message that everybody would be able to hear, what would be the words that you would use?
I would hope everyone would be able to help each other grow and really help each other grow. Not the, oh, yeah, like, I'll throw you a bone here and there, and then that's the end of that. Just like, no, like, I genuinely want to see you grow. I want to see you grow, like, anything, business, faith, your relationship. Just, if you need assistance, then I can definitely take time to help you despite of what I'm going through, because when I'm able to help someone else, then who knows, they could actually help me. And now that could bring me, like what you said, more in alignment with my purpose.
What do you think your purpose is?
I really think my purpose is to educate
Mm.
in many forms,
Huh?
in any way I possibly can, because that is where I get my drive. Like, I get even more excited than what I normally am and more animated when I'm teaching.
I love that. I love that. And I was giving a speech at a conference I think the conference that I invited you to, but you missed. But we'll talk about that.
Wow.
But no, I was going to speak at a conference, and in my speech, I talked about that purpose, I believe, is found when it's found in the thing that gives you the most pain, like probably the thing that brings you the most discomfort or the pain you were called to go solve. And I think for me, I absolutely despise people that have children and don't take care of their children. Um, and if you're that person, then I definitely have some resources for you. But I really do, because I take pride in who I am as a father, and I love like every single moment of those times. And I really believe that I was called to educate parents or fathers on how they navigate their already existing skills and gifts and talents, to be able to enhance their children's lives, so that then the next generation can be enhanced. So when you said like just called here to educate in whatever realm, I really felt that. In your life, I'm sure you've learned a lot of different things. And if your story was broken up into lessons, what would be the first lesson that you would teach?
Ooh. Wow, if my life was broken up into lessons. Well, the first one would be watch the company you keep. Number one, that would be a lesson. The second lesson would be listen listen to your intuition. Like you have a feeling that something's not right. So don't go through it. Don't try to push it and say, "Oh yeah, like you can do it." Don't try to be a trooper.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let me see. Another one would be it's okay to relax.
Hmm. I think we live in this hustle culture though, Paige. I think hustle culture is so toxic. It's kind of like toxic productivity. This grieving process that we go through when we are resting. It's the weirdest thing, because rest is supposed to feel peaceful, but when we're resting, we feel like we're just lazy and horrible people.
Yes, I was
My life
like I feel
sucks.
bad.
So, what are some tips or some different things that you would give to people that want more in their lives, that don't want to burn the candle from two ends, and that want to be able to live a happy life that is all meaningful as well?
First of all, definitely carve out some me time because you are going to need it. You're going to be so overwhelmed. And of course, when you get in those creative spaces, you're going to think about it at 5 in the morning. You're going to think about it on the drive to the store. You're going to be very engulfed in what you want to share with people. And you need to make sure, hey, I need to be able to take a step back so that way I can preserve myself and then I can do it again.
Mm.
So I feel like that is something that I'm trying to work on right now personally.
Yeah,
So that advice in itself really, really hits home.
I appreciate that. I'm interested because people have been listening. They've heard bits and pieces of your book. They've heard who you are. They're engaged in the conversation. Talk to me about your book. Where can people potentially purchase the book? And just kind of give us a little bit of a synopsis of what a child would gain from reading your book as well.
All right. So, really, with my book, it's just a nice, wholesome children's book, realistic expectations about a little girl. She's going to school and she's meeting all of these different students and things like that. And of course, they don't look like her. And she's used to being with her family and she has these different emotions of nervousness. So, really, just trying to provide parents a way to help their children get adjusted to school. Because, of course, to us, it's easy. It's, oh, okay, it's another day, it's another thing, it's another day. But for children, that can be something that's very scary.
Mhm.
Like you're in the comfort of your home, you can do whatever you want in there with some boundaries. And now you have to learn how to navigate basically the world
Mm.
because the school can be their world at the age of 5
Exactly.
or 6. And especially if you move to a different state, now your whole bearings are off. So now it's like everyone's telling you, oh, you need to do this. So now you have to listen to your parents. Now you have to listen to this teacher who you just met at open house and you don't even know like who they are. And now you have to learn the emotions of different students in your class. Then they're not in your class. So it's really just a way to provide children and parents a way of how to navigate through school. Because you really need a roadmap. If someone would have given me a manual on how to do things, that'd be great. This is kind of like my
Exactly.
little manual.
No, I love that. Where can people find it?
Barnes and Nobles and Amazon.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting. Anybody right now that's listening, I want you to write your book. I want you to write your story because at the moment that you release your testimony, you give someone else the opportunity to have a key that can unlock a door that maybe they never knew that was even locked in the first place or never even knew that was there. You have a vision inside of you. You have something inside of you that you need to be able to share. Whether you started it in college, whether you started it when you were in high school or middle school or wherever stage you are in your life, the fact that you started it is enough for you to be able to see it through to be able to finish it. Whether it takes you a day, a month, a year, or a lifetime, you got to be able to finish it. I'm going to end you guys with this. If you don't reach the place that you were called to reach, how many people are you not allowing to get to the places that they were called to reach? Your destiny or your obedience is attached to someone else's destiny. We are here on another episode of the Writer's Game podcast where we help you magnify your voice, monetize your message. Go buy Paige's book. Go buy 5 copies of Paige's book. It'll be at the link in the bio, and we'll see you guys next episode.